Mercedes-Benz Virtual GP 2020. 10 teams. 20 drivers. To test their skills at 12 circuits in iRacing. 7 online races, 4 studio races with driver changes, and a big finale with a live audience at the 4 Games Expo.
Oh, there it is! There it is! And he is absolutely thrilled, and I'm thrilled for him. For turns 6 and 7. Oh, a bit of a bump between them! Oh, no!
Drivers will face 2 different cars, GT3s and modern single-seaters.
Parking in the middle, side by side of the Casio triangle. Oh my goodness me, a little bit of an impact.
The 6th season of VGP begins on March 28th with a doubleheader at Imola and Daytona. We are back. Hello and welcome back to the Mercedes-Benz Virtual GP 2020 season. We're back for round number 3 out of 12, and we're back on the other side of the Atlantic for a race at Donington. My name is Justin Sutton, and joining me as usual, it's Chris Buxton.
We are on my home turf this time for Donington Park. Very, very technical and trying circuit, but so much fun to drive. Really cannot wait for our GT3 brethren to roar across this amazing track. This is how the championship currently stands. Logitech are at the top of the tree, Kovacic and Kujala. Then Lenovo, Legion and Thrustmaster sharing the next few positions. So Pastor, the Prachada brothers and Rigel down to 6th. Then the Benzina pair of Stefanko and Vizi, and Corny and Siratek for ESET rounding out the top 10. But look how close it is from 3rd to 10th. Just 2 points in it. And equally close, 11th to 20. 3 points there. Absolutely amazing. Big shock. Pair of Stepanovsky and Hora. Then it is Matea, Blage, Korny, Kostarik, Sikora, Kovarik, and Crew. This is going to be amazing. And this is how the team's championship currently stand. Logitech with a comparatively comfortable lead, but then so close. They've got as much of a lead 1st to 2nd as the rest of the field has from 2nd to 10th. That is absolutely incredible.
And we're just going to have a quick look at the comparison between the Benzina drivers at the moment. So you can see Martin Stefanko is in qualifying. Race 1 was in, race 2 was in 1st position. Vizzy in 4th in race 1. Race 1, Vizzy from 4th to 2nd. Stefanko from 2nd to 3rd in stint 2 there. And then race 2, you can see how they performed there. 1st to 1st for Martin Stefanko, and then 1st to 4th in that unfortunate incident that we saw at Daytona, Chris, which we're going to have a look at in just a moment here. But yeah, it was looking like it was in the bag for the Benzina car in the Mercedes-AMG GT3 out at Daytona in the night race. Let's have a quick look at that now. But yeah, you can see just losing the back end, no tap or anything like that. Was it all down to pressure? I mean, he did good to keep it out of the barrier. But yeah, I assume just a small mistake due to that Logitech being right on the back.
Yeah, maybe went in a little bit hot, probably, or just braking a little bit too hard. The tail was not having that, and sadly, Vizzy was just not able to recover. And there it is again from the onboard shot. It's one of these, I really felt for him when this happened, because it's one of those really slow, almost clumsy mistakes, but just feels like it takes forever to recover from. So this is how Donington Park looks. So we're going to be taking part at midday, 4 kilometers, just shy of 2.5 miles, and it is a beauty. But look at just how the undulation goes on. It's quite warm in the day as well. Track temperature 35 degrees. The tyres won't be liking that, because you can see there's a lot of changing of direction in this one.
Yep, there sure is. Simon Kovacic starting from pole position with a 125.9. Mateja in the TP link with a 126.4. Pretty sizable gap. Then it's the Benzina and the Lenovo cars on the second row of the grid. Then it's Lucas Pichata in the Thrustmaster in 5th position alongside Martin Stefanko starting from way down in 6th position, more than 3/4 of a second off the pace ahead of David Pichata. The Dexfin car numbered in 9th position of Senal. That's just under a second, very close to Michael Blazek in the Mogul Racing car. Sirotech in there as well. Stepanovsky in the Big Shot car, 1.3 seconds off the pace. It's not that long of a lap either, as Chris mentioned. So we're seeing some big gaps there. Thomas Corney more than 1.5 seconds off of the pole time, which I think maybe says more about the pole time than what the performance these guys are putting in. Kashila, Kujela, Sikra, and Kovarik bringing up the rear as we prepare to go racing from Donington in these AMG GT3 cars. And it's gonna be an exciting one. I think we're in for a real treat here as they make their way through. We have a different starting procedure, don't we, this time, Chris? With the rolling start, just to maybe make it a little bit easier for these guys.
Yeah, but it's no less tense. and the thing is, it's one of these situations where you're now concentrating on, as you can see, everybody is trying to warm their tires, but they can't just throw it from side to side. They've got to bear in mind, if they clout the guy next to them, that's going to cause issues for both of them. And you know, this is the first of the online races, all 20 cars on track at the same time. So last time out, we had the two category, we had the driver swap going on, so it was 10 cars on track at any one time. All 20 of them are here, so this is going to be amazing. And this track gets tight in places, so the nerves are going to be jangly. The pace car pulls in, so this will be up to the poleman to floor it. And here we go, we are racing here at Donington.
A fantastic start for the Logitech, looking very strong. The Legion car looking up the inside into turn 1 is a little bit later on the brakes than the TP Link car as well, actually. So it's looking like he might be taking that position as they carry their way down towards turn 2. Looking a little bit further back of the field. Not seeing any chaos. Nobody has spun off the circuit or anything like that. Does look like the TP Link car comes out ahead, moving up into 3rd position on the opening lap here. It is pretty much nose to tail, not seeing a ton of battles, but of course that is partially to do with the flying start that we had. Seeing a little bit of battling going on in the background there. That was through Starkey's Bridge, and we can see the Lenovo Legion getting very close to the back of the TP Link. I think that was through McLean's, coming through Coppice now, and again, just right underneath the rear wing there. And the Legion car looking very aggressive, having a look at the Sirotech and the ESET car. The other ESET car just behind looking pretty aggressive as well. And the Logitech car a little bit further down. That is Kujela looking like he wants to try and pick up some positions as we see some side-by-side moments into the chicane, Chris.
Yeah, that's very brave to be side by side through the Fogarty S's, through that chicane. It's so narrow, only realistically one line through it, but hell, if these things... Oh, what a big move from Blazek! That's going to be close. He's going to try and take 2. Very nice from Michael Blazek. He's had a pretty bad start. You can see the number in the top, our top left, their top right of the screen is their starting position. No, that's David Pichata. That's gone round. He had a bit of a tap, I think, from the Lenovo Legion car behind him. That sent him sideways, across the track. He's had a bit of a clout. But what a start from Eric Vizzi as well. We saw that one mistake he made at... that's not a happy-looking big shot car. Oops! Oh dear, that's a big problem. That's Rigel. That's Papa Rigel and the Lenovo Legion car. You can see his name falling through the field. Kovarik and Garney have had trouble as well. Oh, but it's so easy to do that at turn 1. The apex is quite blind, and you can just see the undulation of this really classic track. And the other giveaway is a classic track as the corners are named as opposed to numbers. That turn there is really off camber as well. It's so easy to get wrong.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. It's a difficult circuit, as you mentioned, quite narrow as well, and it's grass right off the circuit as well. So if you dip a wheel off, you're going to probably end up looking like Corny does here in the Mogul car, and just getting back facing the correct direction, made it through the grass back onto the circuit. Still in 19th position, though, excuse me, he has dropped down to 20th, actually, so Rigel making up a place, looking a little bit further up the field. At the other Lenovo Legion car, running a little bit better in 4th position, is Pastor, just behind the TP Link
of Mateja that made that overtake earlier on at the beginning of the race and has managed to hold on to that third place position. The biggest gap that we're seeing at the moment within the top 5, though, is from Kovacic to Vizzy. So the Logitech and Kovacic really starting to really just build a gap there. It's over 1 second already down to the Benzina. But as you mentioned, Chris, I have to say you're exactly right about Vizzy. He didn't have the best of times out at Daytona, one single mistake, but clearly he is ready to move past that, and he doesn't want that. He doesn't want that to be the thing that he's remembered for or anything like that. He's the leading Benzina in this race, but both of them are in the top 5, so it's looking like if they can hold on to these types of positions, it's going to be a lot of points for the Benzina team here today at Donington.
So far so good if they can hang on to that, but this is a very difficult track to maintain your position, defend it, attack, or whatever. It's hard enough just to stay on the black stuff, as we've seen a few incidents already. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a shame that we tend to remember, we as human beings tend to remember the spins, the mistakes, and that the amazing pass is true, but it's easier to remember when it goes wrong, which is a shame, but that's the human condition for you. As we now look at the battle for 15th position between Jan Sikora and Martin Kostalik, the Autoscope Benob, and the TP-Link cars screaming on down to the Fogarty S's, and there's gaps beginning to form in various places through the field. Oh, there's a battle forming at the bottom of the shot. Now this is where one of the incidents we had, I would suspect this is where the Big Shock got a big shock. Yeah, he got a big punch in the face. This is going to coming into the last lane. He's gone for the move on the Thrustmaster car. It's going to be here. There he goes. So that's where Pritchard got it wrong. That was all on his own. And sadly, the Big Shock had absolutely nowhere to go from that.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. And it looked like he was going to spin off the line very momentarily there. It looked like the Thrustmaster car was going to spin off the racing line, but those front tires just continued to grip and kept him right in the way of that Big Shock car, which is really unfortunate. So going to have to deal with that damage, but continuing on, still in the race, so that's good to see. Having a look at Blazek in 11th position, riding right outside of the top 10 at the moment, behind the Big Shock of Cora, with just over a second between the two of them. But Kulchik in the Dexfin in 12th position, running rather closer to that Mogul car, so we could be seeing an overtake for 11th position potentially in the very near future, as they make their way through the medium-speed right-handers and come onto the straight. Difficult to overtake into the S's. It's extremely narrow, really is only one line, and the braking is rather firm, but it's not the longest of braking zones either, so it's difficult to... You really got to be alongside and ahead. You really want to nose ahead if you're going to be making an overtake into that chicane. So we expect certainly to see a lot more overtaking in the final couple of corners at the Melbourne hairpin, at Goddard's at 11 and 12, the penultimate and final corners as we come across the start-finish line to start another lap in this race. And it is still Vizzy that leads this train of cars. That goes down to Lucas Pichata in 6th position, and then there's a bit of a gap down to the Dexfin of Senal. So this group from 2nd down to 6th of 5 cars, currently being led by the Benzina of Vizzy, with the other Benzina of Stefanko in there. Mateja moving up to 3rd early in the race, but again, it is Kovacic that's really breaking away here. And I do wonder, Chris, if he's got something different going on in terms of setup that's allowing him to be this quick this early in the race.
Yeah, you touched upon my next point. This is a... sounds like a bit of an obvious statement. It's a very different track to Daytona. Yeah, you don't say. But the major differences, which may not always be immediately obvious, this track has nothing or next to nothing to do with raw top speed. Daytona, your foot is planted for quite a long period of time, but equally that's more a tactical race. This one is very much, you need a balanced, well-handling car. You don't necessarily need it to have the best top speed in the world, because you'll invariably never get there. We're riding on board with Siratek in the ESET car. He would have been nowhere near the top speed. There would have been quite a bit left in the tank had the straight been longer. If the Starkey straight and Wheatcross straight, which is that back straight and the start-finish straight, were connected, might just about, as that's Kostalik in the TP-Link car trying to make a move on the outside of Jan Sikora. There's a bit of a nudge there, but they get away with it. A fair attempt, but a good defense from Jan Sikora. So, these cars need to be well balanced, need a very grippy setup, which is why that Big Shot car is very thankful there's someone ahead of him he can slipstream off of. The slipstream's not all that effective because, again, the straights aren't very long, but he's going to be suffering in the corner, so he's going to be thankful for any help he can get. because he would have lost some some cornering efficiency. So he's glad for any help he can get. He's also doing a damn good job to keep up with those ahead of him. As this is the front of this particular train. So Vizzy and Mattea at the front of this particular queue. But also another point that this raises is, Eric Vizzy may not have been too comfortable with, or maybe more proficient, I should say, at these type of twisty technical circuits rather than the raw, open tracks such as Daytona, such as Monza, Imola to a slightly lesser degree as well. And wow, what a great exit from the fog. The S's from Eric Vizzy there. But also, he's not he's having to defend from Mattea, from pretty much everybody behind him. That's exactly what Kovacic doesn't have to do. Kovacic is having a whale of a time up front. 4.5 seconds now, in really not that much time. It's because he doesn't have to cover any lines off. Eric Vizzy has to constantly look behind him, because if he makes the tiniest mistake, he'll be off in the dust, and it takes a long time to recover from a track such as this. So he's got to be very, very careful. He's doing a cracking job of keeping, Mattea, Pastor, and well, you can't say he's keeping Stefano behind him, but I think Martin's biding his time. I reckon Martin knows how to play this particular track. He'll be waiting for either a particular mistake or a particular moment to strike. Eric Vizzy is just playing the constant defensive game and doing a cracking job of it. And again, not taken away from Kovacic, because he is maximising that. There you can see the fastest lap difference, 0.7 of a second near enough, between the Logitech and Benzina cars. That isn't all set up. That'll be partly set up, but that's mainly due to the fact that Kovacic has got nothing to worry about other than himself.
Yeah, he's looking very comfortable out there. It's now almost 5 seconds, in fact, between Kovacic and Vizzy as we approach the 35-minute mark, looking a little bit further back. I was going to mention, by the way, the back end of Sirotech's ESEC car is looking rather similar to the front end of Hora's Big Shot car, I have to say. Speaking of which, the front end of that Big Shot car and the rear end of that ESEC car have definitely separated since we last checked in on them. And at the moment, you have to say that the ESEC car is looking like it might be setting up for an overtake pretty quickly here. Looking at Secret and Koshalik once again. Koshalik with a great run coming out of that chicane, finds the inside line and coming down into the hairpin. Doesn't get much room from the Nobe car, but does manage to just about squeeze through the 3 wide at the exit as the Legion car gets involved. And but it does look like the TP Lane car is going to come out on top as they go into the final hairpin. It's some huge contact. That could be an open invitation for the Legion car, which gets a good exit. The ESEC car is getting involved in this as well too. So they were 3 wide. They're now nose to tail though on the start finish straight as they get into turn 1. Oh, the ESEC car up the inside into turn 1 on the TP Lane car does find that position and manages to get ahead. The Lenovo Legion now behind the Nobe. And this quartet of cars continues to battle. Some incredible stuff we're seeing in this race. And again, we touched on this before. This is not an easy circuit to battle at, to overtake at. And there we can see Sikora with a 129.1 last lap, a 128.0 from Rigel in the Lenovo Legion last lap. So that is a very, very quick lap time. And I do wonder if we're going to see another overtake here, but this time the Lenovo on the Nobe. Let's see if he can get the exit that he needs to think about doing something into the chicane. I don't think he did. And in fact, I think Corny in the ESEC car might be the bigger threat to this Lenovo Legion car as they get down here, but no, he's not going to be pulling alongside as they get into the braking zone, so it is going to be single file through that chicane, which is probably preferable for all of these drivers. Looking backwards now from the lead car, feeling the need to go defensive as they go down the hill into the first of the 2 hairpins. The Lenovo Legion car tucking right underneath, almost making contact with the camera there, but the Nobe will maintain that position for the meantime. But yeah, we've got the now 4-way battle as Lucas Pichata has sort of dropped off that battle for second position, so we got a 4-way battle for second going on. Then we've got this 4-way battle going on at the moment. Currently, it seems to be that Senol in the Dexpin car is the really lonely one out there at the moment, Chris. He's about 4 seconds behind Pichata and about 4 seconds ahead of the other Pichata in a 4-second Thrustmaster sandwich at the moment in 7th position. But hey, that's not such a bad place to be, especially in a circuit where it's so easy to make contact when you try to overtake or defend, those sorts of things. So I imagine Senol's perfectly happy in his little bubble right now.
Yeah, he's in a little bit of no man's land, isn't he?
Yeah.
Quite a bit ahead of one Pichata and Ozio behind the next. We've got a replay here. This is coming down into turn 1 with the ESEC car on the inside of the Lenovo Legion. Bang! Yeah, that's just a simple case of two cars into the same bit of track doesn't go. And that's how easy it is to spin out these things when you're already turning these rear-wheel drive monsters. I'm also enjoying the symphony a la Mercedes of these GT3s. I make no bones about it. I love the sound of these cars. They are absolutely glorious. Oh, and that is currently getting very, very fidgety behind Rigel. So close. Whoa, Rigel going for a big move on Secra, and we've just seen it again. Ooh, because that was a slower corner. Rigel got away with that one, or Secra, I should say, got away with that one. They are dropping Carney a little bit. Oh, wow. The Legion car is determined to get on with it. Really good side by side. Not quite. Can't get the traction he needs on the exit of Goddard. Wow, Jan Secret is having to defend so hard from everybody behind him. You've got to feel a little bit for Carney. He was looking at getting that 15th position from Secret at one corner and then finds himself at the back of the train 2 corners later.
Incredible stuff, actually, we're seeing in that battle for 15th position. Unfortunately, he's not doing them any favors. They're now more than 7 seconds off of Stepanovsky in 14th position in the big shot car. So we turn our attention once again towards this 4-way battle for 2nd position, which actually looks like it may be spreading out a little bit. It's just 0.6 of a second between Vizzy and Mateja. Another 0.6 to Pastor. Yes, Stefanko, interestingly enough, sorry to fall off the back of this. In this battle for 15th position, though, continues to be very, very close. That's the ESET car of Corny getting very, very close to the back of the Legion car. I think possibly even bump drafting him, giving up on that just before getting into the braking zone, which I think was the wise choice. But again, just look how close it is between these cars. Yeah, we are actually inside the other car for a moment there, side by side, once again into the hairpin, but this time I think the Lenovo Legion's going to do it. Here comes the TP Link car, is going to make a double overtake up into 16th position, still side by side with the ESET though. The Lenovo Legion is taking over, inside line now. Oh, here comes the Nobe though, of the inside, contact again, pushes him the right direction, 3 wide at the exit. The Nobe comes out on top. The ESET and the TP Link are side by side as they cross the start finish line, inside line for the TP Link as they come down towards turn 1, but a little bit further up the track. The ESET car, oh no! Big crash there between the ESET car and the Nobe. They're off at turn 1, they're into the barrier, and I have to imagine that is going to be their races pretty much destroyed at this point.
Certainly, Corny's essentially had a brake failure there as he had nothing, and he's put himself back in the pits. That is his day done. Yeah, he essentially just had no brakes. There was nothing under that left foot pedal, so a great shame. He was involved in such a brilliant battle for so long. Jan Seeker is going to have to be careful, I think, as that's twice he's made contact with someone at Goddard. He could be facing the wrath of the stewards if he carries on like that, but that's what firm and fair racing does require, an element of getting your elbows out, but it's sadly not doing him any favours, although he didn't bank on being shoved into orbit, admittedly, from Corny's brake failure. But on this battle goes, Eric Vizzy did get himself a bit of breathing space from Matea, but that, as you can quite clearly see, has evaporated again. Now, Pastor has fallen a bit off the back of this particular group. Stefanko seems to have fallen nearly 2 seconds behind Pastor, interestingly. I don't know whether he's made a mistake or his setup is just not working very well for Donington. Not everybody is an expert in all places. I mean, Stefanko, if we go back to Daytona, was untouchable, absolutely streaking away up front. But, maybe those kind of more open-flowing tracks suit him more than the technical ones. Everyone has their own driving style. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses, and this may not necessarily be his. But equally, he can't afford to take his eye too much off the ball, because I think Mr. Prajada in the Thrustmaster car is going to be paying him a visit. There's a couple of seconds between those two if he doesn't get on with it and condense this pack back up again. Also, there is another thing. He may well just trying to rest his tyres a little bit, maybe to try and keep a bit more in reserve, not to overheat them. I don't think the tyres are worked pretty hard at circuits like this, but generally with a race length of this kind, they will definitely have to stop once, but they don't always make tyre changes, so the tyres in themselves should be okay. But this track is pretty hard already, and he doesn't want to be sliding around without that downforce efficiency you'll get in these slipstreaming circumstances. So that could be a tactical move to Stefenko, only he knows, but equally he's got to be careful how much he plays that, because like I say, Ricciardo in the Thrustmaster car is not that far behind him.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's, I mean, even one small mistake, and certainly he could be falling into trouble. Mateja definitely looking like he is the quicker car between himself and Vizzy at the moment, but he's just struggling to find a way past that Benzina car. You can see just following through a car length or two through a lot of these corners, actually. Really high-speed corners, or at least medium to high-speed corners, a lot of these as well, too. So he is picking up a good amount of dirty air, but it's not preventing him from closing right back up into the next braking zone. He is just right there with him, and indeed it is starting to spread out a little bit behind these two, as Pastor has now fallen more than 1 second back from the TP Link car. As we mentioned, Stefenko kind of falling back. He's now at 1.5 seconds or thereabouts. So these guys are spreading out ever so slightly, except for Mateja in the TP Link car is right on the back of Vizzy, and there is Kovacic. Just in case if anybody forgot what his car looked like, there he is heading into turn 1, looking calm, cool, collected, a 126.0. We're well past the halfway point of this race, actually, and he now holds on to a nearly 8-second gap down to that Benzina of Vizzy, which hasn't encountered a whole lot of side-by-side moments, though, Chris. I mean, he is having to defend slightly, but it's not like he's doing a ton of side-by-side racing through the S's and stuff like that. He's definitely not losing tons and tons of time. As we can see, Kovacic did actually set the fastest lap of the race with that last lap time. So, I mean, he is really going very quickly out there, and in fact just went over 8 seconds down to the next car. And I have to say, coming up to the 25-minute mark here, I'm wondering, because again, we've mentioned this before in previous broadcasts, but I'm gonna bring it up once again. It's not like we know what the drivers are going to be doing in terms of strategy ahead of the race. We have no idea. I assumed a pit stop was going to be involved in today's race, as that ESET car is moving very, very slow for of Sirotech. Stepanovsky getting right up to the back of him. This could be an overtake for 13th position. I wonder if that's because of tires potentially, but nobody has been for a planned pit stop. We've got Korony and Sikora in the pits, but that was due to the incidents earlier on in the race. I love that you could see the three-way battle going on at Goddard's as these two were coming into the S's, by the way. Loved seeing both battles on screen simultaneously like that, just showing how much is going on in this race. I think that was the battle for 8th, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, lots of stuff going on all throughout the field. But I do wonder at this point if we are going to see any pit stops for tires. They may just be going all the way.
Could well do. I would expect them to pit at some point. I can't remember how big the fuel tanks are on these things. So one stop I'm kind of expecting, but probably not for tyres unless they've been in this kind of battle for a very long time. Oh, well, that would have woken Eric Vizzy up somewhat. Mattea really starting to get impatient. Pastor now joining in. That's why Mattea is getting impatient, because the Lenovo Legion car is starting to get very, very interested. He's really weaving all over the back of the Benzina Roland car. It's not like Eric Vizzy is slow, particularly. It's just I think Mattea is gotten fed up of staring at that beautiful white and red livery. I think it's more a case of that. Oh, careful! We've seen missed braking points already in this race. So he's doing a good job of keeping the pressure behind him, is Eric Vizzy.
Is Stefenko getting closer?
I reckon he is. I was just about to say that very same thing. That's probably more because Eric is having to defend quite hard against the pressure being applied on him. But equally, Stefenko may have decided to push that little bit harder on the accelerator pedal. Oh, again, that's not a very big braking zone into turn 1. And like you said earlier, Justin, you've got to have committed to that move way earlier than that. Otherwise, that's a big, massive twisted metal off into the wall. But yeah, Mattea means business.
Yeah, he's not. I mean, he really wants to get by at this point, and of course he's going to get more and more desperate. This is something we've talked about many times over the course of VGP broadcasts, is as the race goes on, you get more and more desperate to get past somebody, and I imagine he is sick and tired of looking at the back of that Benzina car. But I do love how pristine all of the cars look in this group. They've been this close for this long, and they haven't made contact at all, or very, very slight contact.
that's resulted in little to no damage on these cars at all. So we're seeing some incredibly close yet incredibly clean racing from this quartet of drivers. And at the moment, again, I touched on this earlier, it is still 2 Benzinas in the top 5. At the moment, they look like they're going to be taking away a huge haul of points from Donington. Oh, the TP Link car getting very close to the back of the Benzina, having to get on the brakes mid-corner there. I think that was Mateja just trying to get on the throttle a little early there, but suddenly found himself into the back of that Benzina and had to get back onto the brakes, which unfortunately for him has allowed the Lenovo Legion of Pastor to close right up to the back of him. But again, this start-finish straight just not quite long enough for him to pull alongside or even think about pulling alongside. And of course, Mateja is picking up the slipstream off of Vizzy, so Pastor doesn't have much of an advantage on the straights, if any advantage on the straights, if we're totally honest. So it's going to take something really special or a mistake from one of these 4. I really hope I didn't just commentator curse somebody. That was Vizzy going a little bit wide at the exit of the old hairpin, but managing to keep everything pointing in the right direction. I think he maybe lost a 10th or 2 as a result of that, but some more medium speed corners, 120 kph thereabouts at minimum apex speed, so that'll force a little bit of dirty air on the TP Link car behind him, which will just allow him to pull out the gap a little bit. Again, another medium speed corner, almost 150 kph coming out of that right-hander of Coppice at turn 8 and onto this straight. But yeah, again, it's incredibly close between all of these guys. You can see it was actually 3/10 the difference last lap, and we have seen some pretty big differences in their lap times. But in the end, here we are, 20 minutes to go, just over 20 and a half minutes to go in this race, and all 4 of them are within about 2 seconds.
I wonder whether Mateja is the quicker car, or Vizzy is, you know, he's realised he's not going to catch Kovacic. Oh, nice, well caught there, Mr. Mateja, on the exit of the last corner. Just throttled it a little too hard, but he caught the tail perfectly. I have a feeling that Mateja is actually a bit quicker than Eric Vizzy is, but Vizzy is doing brilliant work. And whilst we've been talking about him, whilst we've been watching him, I think what he's doing, he's very intentionally parking his car on the apex in the slower corners. You're not going to make a move into the faster ones unless you make a mistake. That is Donington, just end of. But in that hairpin, what he's doing, he's going quite slow comparatively speaking. And what he's done brilliantly well, he's kind of disrupted the flow of the car behind him, which has been Mateja for quite a while now. But yeah, I think he did the same to Pastor early on in the race. What he's done is he's just disrupted the flow that little bit. He's parked it on the apex and floored it. If you look at the last few laps, he's gained quite a comparatively comfortable bit of breathing space in that short straight between the hairpin and Goddard's. So we'll see if he does it again. Oh, wow, that was... he didn't need to do it again because Mateja went for the apex a bit early. But what he keeps doing is he keeps disrupting, which is brilliant defensive driving, I'll say. There's nothing untoward in that at all. You see, he's gone for a bit of a slower... Yeah, he didn't really see it. Oh, that's why he was slow. Are all 4 of them coming in?
Wow.
Yep, all 4 of that whole pack came in at once. Ooh, this is going to be interesting. Ooh, that's getting very, very tight. Now... Unlike other motorsports, they don't have one pit stop per box, and also, as you've just seen, cars will go through each other. It's everybody coming in. Nearly everyone's coming in. Zenol in the Dexfin car has actually carried on. Everyone, well, I say everyone, what have we got? 10 of the top 12, I think, came in, all at the same time. Now, they could just be copying what the leader was doing, and out these guys come in exactly the same order, although it did look like Stefanka was a little slow. You can gain and lose time in the pit stops. It rather depends in if you, for instance, missed your pit box, you have to reverse, which is not only embarrassing, but it does cost you more time than you might think. If you have damage, it depends if your pit crew deems it as necessary damage, so you have no choice but to fix it. We can see on the Big Shot car that damage clearly hasn't been fixed. Or it could just be, for instance, that may well be just aesthetic or, you know, minor enough. There might be a bit of damage to the front aerodynamics, but not enough to warrant sitting there for 20 seconds to get it fixed. So it depends what you're getting done. Wow, everybody except for Senol. Every single person except for Senol came in. I wonder why Senol chose to continue. Just Maybe he just wanted to lead. Why not? He's now got his name on the top of the board. And fair play to you. But everyone essentially has come back out on the same order they went in. And there is our one remaining car to come in, the Dexfin car. And this battle for... And now that's interesting, that Eric Viz has given himself a bit of breathing space.
He has.
More than he has done for quite a while, hasn't he? So that little break may well have... I suspect Matea's made a mistake somewhere in the outlap, so that's what's given Eric Vizzy... Or he's had the outlap of his life as the as the lead Benzina car. But that's going to now force Matea to play the defensive game, because Pastor has really clearly shown he's not interested in sitting there and waiting, watching the world go by either. He wants to get up the field. He wants on the podium. So, yeah, Matea's got it all to do.
Vizzy may have just nailed the pit stop potentially, because of course Pastor is right on the back of Mateja as well. So it could be that Vizzy just did a really good job. I mean, you can save enough time in the pits that would counteract 3 quick laps from the guys behind you. If you can find a second or two in the pits, that's huge. That could take you an entire race to build a gap like that. And just by not making a mistake or pushing a little bit harder into the pits, that sort of thing, you can find that little bit of extra time. It's certainly easy to gain or lose some time in the pits. I do wonder if Senol knows. Well, actually, yeah, Senol is a little bit closer to Lucas Pichata in the Thrustmaster car ahead, and a little bit further away from David Pichata in the Thrustmaster car behind. So I think actually staying out that lap later, because of course he's going to be low on fuel. So his car is going to be very, very light. So if he was taking care of his tires, which I imagine he was, having the quiet race that he is in 7th position, I imagine he was able to put in a very quick lap, actually, on his way into the pits. And, of course, he wouldn't have gotten any traffic, since everybody else came into the pits all in the same lap. He wouldn't have had to deal with any traffic. Nice, smooth, in and out sort of situation for Senol in 7th position. And he's going to have 1 lap fresher tires, potentially, if he took tires. I actually don't know. But yeah, he could potentially be in a position to take 6th position in this race later on. I don't think he's going to be challenging anywhere for the top 5. He's 8 seconds behind that battle. But this is the battle for 8th position that is just behind Senol at the moment. This is being led by David Pichata in the Thrustmaster car, with Hora in 9th position right behind, and Blazek having to go offensive here instead of his typical defensive stuff. Not getting quite the qualifying maybe that he would have wanted to today, but with a much better line through the middle part of the course here, actually, right up to the back of Hora in that big shot car. But it seems that David Pichata is struggling a little bit as well. At the moment, it certainly seems to be that Blazek is the quickest of these 3.
Yeah, certainly is. But as we know, anything can happen at any given point along this track, especially... Ooh, I was just about to say, especially if someone else makes the mistake, just as Blazek looked like he went a tad too deep, or maybe a tad deeper than he was really looking for, into the fog of DSs. Whoa, that's a potential move from the big shot car. Not quite. Blazek trying to make a move on the outside. What he wants is the inside for Goddard. Doesn't quite get it, and that's cost them both time. Is Blazek going to go for the move? No, you see Hora going for that inside line, but he's gone a little bit too deep. Is this an opportunity for Blazek and the mogul car to get alongside? Well, he is alongside. Let's see. Ooh, that is incredibly close. Who's going to be the last of the late breakers coming into the first turn? Nicely done from both of them. Oh, it's not done though. Is Hora going to try and counterattack? No, I think he's realised that one is done. That was a great series of corners from Blazek. Nicely done. He can attack as well as defend.
Yeah, that's impressive stuff. I wasn't sure that was going to happen so quickly, but Blazek up into 9th position. He's going to get himself some extra points as a result of that one. He now has a bit of a gap that he has to deal with of just about 1 second between himself and Pichata up the road after making that overtake. That's just given a little bit of a gap to the Thrustmaster car, which he's enjoying at the moment, I would imagine. Hora currently, though, is looking to take that position back from Blazek. He doesn't care about Pichata taking off if they continue to battle like they have done already, so was really piling the pressure onto the mogul car, but has dropped back a little bit now, maybe thinking long term. There's still more than 12 and a half minutes remaining before we hit 0 on the timer, so
potentially this could be a battle for 8th still. They don't have to turn this into just a two-way battle for 9th position. You can see the very different lines that those two are taking through that penultimate corner, through the hairpin. And that's one of the great things about corners like that, is that there are a number of options as far as making your way through that corner. And sometimes, well, I would imagine with that final corner, you really want to focus on the exit, not as much when it comes to the penultimate corner at the Melbourne hairpin. You really just want to make sure that you're ahead, and if possible, you want to have the inside line into that final hairpin. But really, that final corner is really where you want that good exit, going full throttle all the way down towards turn 1. Through the Craner curves they go, down towards the old hairpin, and it is still the big shot car of Hora that is bringing up the rear of this 3-car train. I did notice as well, it's not a massive gap down to Kujela in 11th position. Oh, side by side, actually. I didn't even notice what happened there with Blazek, but that's going to allow Hora to find the inside line. They make contact, and they go spinning. The big shot car making contact with the Mogul, facing the wrong direction. Blazek will be able to continue, but he is going to lose a position, I think, to Kujela, who is going to move up into 9th position, takes 2 positions with just over 11 minutes to go in this race, and that is two Logitech cars in the top 10 now, actually. So they're going to be challenging Benzina in terms of points haul at the end of this, it looks like. Yeah, at least that's the way it's looking so far, Chris.
Indeed, that was a shame from Hora there. He had a really good run on Blazek, but just sadly a tiny impact. That's all it was. And that sent his car around. Jan Sikora, he's back on track. He's been in the pits. Well, you can see from the last lap, he's been in the pits for a considerable period of time. He's 12 laps down. You know, why not? You may well pick up some points if someone else has a problem. Siratek is in the pits. He's coming again. Or is that may be an error in the overlay? Apologies there. So now Hora may well have reinstated his damage if he got it fixed last time, as he is now being chased by the other Legion. That's Rigel and Kostlik right behind him. So I'm still used to Blazek being in a Legion car. Again, apologies there, he's in the Mogul car.
Same.
Oh wow! Look at this. That's what happened last time. Blazek went tiny bit too deep into that old hairpin, but Kujela had such an overspeed there and absolutely nailed the Mogul car. Very nicely driven by both of them. Kujela in the Logitech car claiming very convincingly that 9th position. Right behind him, that's Vakulchik in the Dexfin car, the second Dexfin car. Senold still in 7th, so a good job there. Oh no, that's Rigel and Kostlik coming together on the way up to McLean's, on the way up to Coppice, I beg your pardon. Oh no, that's not ideal. So Rigel may feel a bit aggrieved by that one. There's Carney in the background of the Mogul car.
Not sure what happened there. We kind of caught it as it was happening, so we didn't see much of the setup. So I don't know if that was a case of going for a gap that doesn't exist or closing a gap that definitely existed, but it could just be a racing incident as well. It's not a scenario where somebody has to be blamed. We saw briefly there David Pichota, actually, his name being brought up at the bottom left. We're actually looking at the battle between Kujela and Blazek. However, I did want to speak about David Pichota at the moment, actually, because all of this battling has now given him a 5-second buffer between himself and what was a battle for 8th position, a 3-way battle for 8th position previously. Looking a bit further up the road at the battle for 2nd position as Kovacic yet again setting the fastest lap of the race at 1:26.007, going for that James Bond vibe here in the closing stages of this race. Less than 10 minutes to go, in fact, actually, as this race has really flown by. It is still Vizzy that is leading the way in this train, and it's now a almost 5-second gap down to Stefanko in 6th position, actually, here, Chris. So he's really dropped off the back of this battle. He's not under any sort of pressure from Pichota, but here is that incident between Kostlik and the Lenovo Legion car, and yep, that's either a racing incident or Kostlik's fault. I don't think the Lenovo Legion is at any fault on that one, but that could just be a racing incident. They were just about. It could have been a case where Kostlik on his screen, he had cleared the car ahead, or the car ahead had cleared him rather, and he thought he was safe to move to the left-hand side. So yeah, it's tough to say on that one, but
we continue to look at this battle for second position. How desperate is Mateja going to be feeling on this one? Pastor right behind as well. Will he be the one that starts to get desperate? Will he say, you know what, I'm sick and tired of you waiting to go for this overtake for second position. I'm just going to overtake you. Less than 7.5 minutes to go here, Chris.
Yeah, indeed. Bit of a shame. I don't think Pavel Reigl did anything wrong there in the Lenovo Legion car. I think he was the victim of that in that particular instant. But then, yeah, we'll leave that to the stewards for them. If they feel a penalty is due, then they will duly apply one. But Eric Vizzi, once again, he must be sweating buckets in that Benzina Roland car. He's done a fantastic job he's had someone in his mirrors all race long. He's had no real let-up, but half a second at best. And again, you're starting to see the tails of these cars sliding on the edge of the corners. I am very surprised actually to see Stefanko that far back, considering he was on the tail of this pack for quite a number of laps. It just seems, you know, he may well have had an incident off track. You can get damage to the underside of these cars, and this track is very bumpy, so there are places that can happen. Could be a setup difference, could be just not a fan of this track, we don't know. But Stefanko not realistically in this battle with only 6 minutes remaining. Like you said, this is absolutely flown by. And Kovacic, you know, just reminding us he's still out there by setting the fastest lap. Well, I mean, I guess he's not going to fall off the road to remind us he's done that. Oh my goodness me, this is going to be an opportunity now for Mattea. Vizzi is out of sorts. Oh, that's close, but the TP Link car has got the pace, but has Vizzi got the brakes? Let's say he could recover this into the fog of the S's. He does, but will the TP Link car get the car back underneath him? No, brilliantly defended from Eric Vizzi. He kept his head. He could have easily given up on that one, and he has successfully defended it. Oh, what a great effort there from Eric Vizzi, and also from Mateja and the TP Link car. And Pastor watching on. Pastor's got the best seat in the house for this fight.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. That's the kind of battling that we like to see. Hard but fair, no contact between the two of them, side by side into a section of the track that you really don't want to be side by side in. Both parties coming out unharmed. In the end, though, it is Vizzi that holds on to it. I'm going to go ahead and give Vizzi driver of the day. Even if he spins off the circuit, knock on wood, even if he spins off the circuit and into the barrier and DNFs at this point, driver of the day. As you said, he's had that TP Link car of Mateja in his rear view for pretty much the entirety of the race. He got a bit of a breathing period after the pit stop phase, where he had about a 1 second gap, at times maybe a little bit over 1 second down to the TP Link car in third position. But aside from that, it's really been just a case of that battle for second position. At the moment, though, it really does seem like Pastor is starting to close up to the back of that TP Link car. Less than 4.5 minutes to go before we hit 0 on the timer. It is still the Logitech car of Kovacic that leads the way. He's now built an over 16-second gap in this race. Really impressive stuff that we've seen from him. Solid contender from driver of the day as well. If he's your driver of the day, if you're watching at home and you think Kovacic deserves driver of the day, I'm not going to argue that with you one bit. But I absolutely love the redemption tale that we're getting from Vizzi here. Losing the back end at Daytona last time out in round 2, losing out on some points, almost certainly, we believe. Again, we questioned whether or not he was going to be able to hold on to the lead of the race, but we do think that he maybe lost out on second position as a result of that spin. It was difficult for him to rejoin the circuit at Daytona, but here he is, just over 3.5 minutes to go at Donington, still leading this trio of cars, still holding on to that second place position despite the best efforts of Mateja behind.
Kovacic has been flawless this entire race.
He has.
You know, now that I've said it, expect him off into the dust any second. He will fly over to the UK to find me. Oh, Mateja is really getting desperate. There's only a couple of laps left of this race and very few opportunities remaining. He wants to get the run off of this corner. He wants to get the run off of Coppice to get the move done before the fog at ES's. But Eric Vizzi he's done it again. He's just had enough where he needs it. Eric Vizzi has done a brilliant job of just putting his car where he needs it to be and having the pace at the times that matter the most. Yeah, driver of the day for me is definitely the Benzina car, without doubt for me. And there you saw Very Fizzy go for the apex to try and disrupt Matasia from diving on that one. We've seen the TP Link car try and dive for that early apex, and again, Very Fizzy just doing what he needs to do. Even if he bins it now, he's still getting my driver of the day. Obviously not hoping that he does, because he's had such a great race. He deserves that podium spot. But Kovacic, absolutely hats off. He's come on such a long way. You go, okay, we've got a major change of sort of racing sim from the previous season, which makes a very big difference. Absolutely it does. But Kovacic has just been untouchable.
Yeah, he really has. He's been absolutely bulletproof out at the front, just untouched since the beginning of the race. You know, he built out that 1 second gap thereabouts, then he started to build it out more and more, and was just feeling quite confident. And again, there hasn't been a lot of side-by-side moments for second position, so it's not like it's a case of him only pulling away because of the amount of battling that's going on behind him. We have seen a little bit of battling, but not 17 seconds worth of battling for second position. So that is down to skill, setup, practice, hard work, all of that kind of stuff. That's what's allowed Kovacic to build out that kind of gap as we are getting down really now into the final minutes of this race. I caught just a little glimpse of some fire coming out of the side exhaust of that Benzina car as he was powering down into the penultimate corner. And this may be for the penultimate time. It really depends on where Kovacic is on circuit when the timer runs out. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But we're into the final lap or two now at this point as they power down towards the first corner for one of the final times in this race. It is looking like Vizzy in the leading Benzina car as well, and it's not as if Stefanko has been caught up in incidents or anything like that. So Vizzy is genuinely the faster of the two Benzina cars here today at Donington, which is truly impressive stuff. Again, the redemption story that we're getting from this guy is absolutely fantastic, something that everybody absolutely loves to see as they make their way through the old hairpin, underneath the bridge, and through the double left-handers of 5 and 6, through Starkey's Bridge. Ooh, it looks like the TP Link just trying for a late lunge into that right-hander at McLean's, but couldn't quite make that work for him. He's going to have to stay behind for the meantime, but again, we get into the desperation. 10 seconds now on the clock. Where is Kovacic on the circuit? I have a feeling he's still on this lap. This may be the final lap of this race. There is Kovacic just making his way out of Melbourne Hairpin, down towards the final corner for the final time in this race. It is going to be, let's not say easy, but it is going to be a pretty dominant victory from Kovacic with a more than 17 second gap to Vizzy in second position. Well played, well driven by Kovacic, certainly contender for driver of the day, if not for the fact that this man here in the Benzina has managed to keep Matasia behind for the entirety of this race. Pastor is going to finish in fourth position. What a drive from all of these guys. It's been absolutely incredible watching them work. And a little bit further back, Senol in the end did close up. I did say that it could come down to a battle for sixth position. Senol in the end right behind the Thrustmaster of Lucas Pichata. David Pichata in the other Thrustmaster in 8th. Both of them in the top 10. Only a few teams making both cars in the top 10, so Thrustmaster can be very proud about that one. They've had an absolutely fantastic race out here today, so I think they can be really happy with that, Chris.
And they have every right to be. A brilliant race from our drivers. There have been mistakes through the field, yes there have, but those that have made it through to these positions have done brilliantly well. But this really does go to show where some people are really not so strong on the technical tracks over the ones we've seen so far. I mean, the people are still coming over the line. We don't usually see a field spread that big, but this is what we're seeing as we have the last two cars of Corny and Kostely cross over the line to seal up this race, and what a race it has been.
Here is your podium. It is Simon Kovacic again with that very convincing win ahead of Eric Vizzy, the redemption story. Lucas Matasia, a very, very well-deserved podium. Maybe not talking about him quite enough. He did a fantastic job, applied lots of pressure to Vizzy. He too was quite faultless. The top 4 really were all quite faultless. Martin Stefanko seemingly dropping off a little bit towards the end there, but he was only a handful of seconds off. And then the Pichata brothers in 6th and 8th position. Senol splitting the two of them. Kujela and Vakulchik rounding out the top 10.
10, still within 1 minute of the top guys. Sirotech in 11th position, Stepanovsky in 12th, Hora and Kostulik on the lead lap, as well as Koreny and Blazek, while Rigel and Kovarik going a lap down. Sikora and Koreny, unfortunately, having a difficult day. Simon Kovacic picking up the fastest lap as well. What a performance from him, Chris.
Absolutely incredible indeed. This is how the championship standings now fall, with Simon Kovacic with a really comfortable lead. Now the Logitech pair really showing the rest of the field how it's done. Then Eric Vizzi, that great result, putting him up into third position on 51. Then Pastor, Stefanko 4 and 5, not far apart, very close still between the Brachada brothers on 42 and 14, 6th and 7th respectively. Here's the tail end of the field with Koreny and Senol with their points putting them 11th and 12th. Stepanovsky, Vakulchik, Hora, all very, very close. 13, 14, 15, Kostulik and Koreny, Blazek and Sikora, again, all with points on the board, very, very close. Just one good result could completely change the face of this entire grid. Absolutely brilliantly done. And we still wish them well for the rest of the season. But look at that from Logitech, now with a 40 or 39 point lead over Benzina. But we're still very early in the season. That can change in a heartbeat. And that is going to round it out for tonight's race. Thank you very much to those that have been with us throughout. A great pleasure to have you on board. Thank you very much, Justin, for joining me in the commentary. It's a great pleasure. And do come back to us next time for more VGP action. Until then, thank you very much and goodbye.